Hello, it's Vidas again, and welcome to the 8th video in mini course of mastering Prelude and Fugue in F major. Up until now I taught you how to master the Prelude and Fugue in fragments of 4 to 6 measures at a time. And today I'm going to teach you how to take this Prelude and Fugue to the next level, so to say, to be ready for your public performance of your piece. Imagine that you learned this piece in chunks, in fragments of 4 or 6 measures at a time, but you're not really fluent with this. You're perhaps fluent with each fragment. You can play 3 times in a row correctly any fragment that you choose, right? Perhaps, I hope. I taught you the steps. But can you play it in public? Can you hope to play it in public today? Perhaps not. Perhaps some people do. But if you struggle with when connecting these fragments, then I have some tips for you in this video. Alright, so first thing you have to do when you master each separate fragment 4 or 6 measures at a time, in solo voices, in combinations of 2 voices, 3 voices, and then 4 voices together, what I recommend you do is you go back at the beginning of each of the prelude and play 3 times in a row correctly the first line. Okay, only the first line. That's exactly 6 measures. Okay, and it's a little bit longer than the very first fragment that you learned, but this is the first step into the real fluency. Okay, and do this 3 times in a row correctly. Observe the proper fingering, pedaling, articulation, and hand position, pedal preparation. Remember these things that I taught you in the previous videos. And if you can do this 3 times in a row correctly, without mistakes, then you are ready to take the next line and do this 3 times without mistakes, and so on. You practice the prelude and fugue without stopping, 1 line at a time. Okay, but remember, you have to stop at the beginning of the next fragment. Alright, so the next fragment will be the beginning of the next line, right? So you end each line not at the last note of the last measure of the line, but at the beginning of the next line. That's very important, that you can connect these 2 pieces together. If you do this 3 times in a row while connecting two pieces, two fragments, then you will be much better when it comes the time to play it in public. Okay, so you end the fugue, okay, by practicing in the same way, 1 line at a time. Then there is another step to take, 2 lines at a time, 3 times correctly, but 2 lines at a time, from the beginning until you end. You don't stop at the end of the first line, but remember, attempt to play 3 times in a row correctly. And then the next step would be 4 lines at a time. We're making the fragments longer, okay, and sort of imagining that we are already playing in public. You can, at the end of this video, I'll teach you how to be really ready for public performance. But right now we'll pretend that you are a master of the first of 1 line of music. 1. You don't worry what's coming next. If you can really stop and think what's coming next at the beginning of each fragment, then you're okay. Don't worry if you make mistakes in the next line. Okay, that's too early. That's the next step. You just master 1 line, then 2 lines, then 4 lines. Okay, and then 1 page at a time. 1 page. Page 1, page 2, and page 3. Okay, 3 times in a row correctly. and then perhaps 2 pages. But if you look at the music, the prelude is almost 2 pages long. The fugue starts at the last line of the 2nd page. Okay, so I would say the next step would be to do almost 2 pages at a time, the entire prelude without stopping 3 times in a row correctly, and then the fugue will be more a little less than 2 pages, of course, like 1 page and a little bit more, okay, and 1 line, like 6 lines at a time. But remember, the fugue is more difficult with more advanced pedal part, so it's okay if you play just the fugue in this step, okay. And the very last step would be to combine the prelude and the fugue without stopping. What I mean, yes, you stop at the end of the prelude, but you don't rest, you don't take a rest, you mentally are going forward even at the end of the prelude, okay. And this is the end of this fragment, of this long fragment, the beginning and the end. So practicing 3 times in a row correctly, prelude and the fugue, okay. Then the question is, will you be ready for the public performance when you master all these steps? Perhaps. If you are still making some mistakes, what I imagine is happening, that you still need to take a few days more of practice by perhaps playing the entire piece in a comfortable tempo, not too fast. Do not attempt to play it too fast, but attempt for your playing to be free of mistakes. That's the ideal way, the goal, without mistakes. So if you make a mistake, you can do you have 2 options. Option 1 is to reduce the tempo and play it much slower than you can, and then until you reach the comfortable tempo, so that you are free of mistakes, so your playing is free of mistakes. Option 1, slower the tempo. Option 2 would be to reduce the texture, okay. If you're still making mistakes and even in a slow tempo, that means that you have to go back a few steps and do perhaps 3 voices, not 4 voices together, okay. If you're still making mistakes, play combinations of 2 voices, alright. If mistakes still occur, then play 1 voice at a time, okay. I know you want to progress really fast, but there is no way, there is no shortcut in organ playing. You have to take each and every fragment and master this way. You know, at the beginning, at least at the beginning of your organist career, when you are really good at sight reading music with pedals, then you are ready to play in a different way, which I want to teach you in this video. This is too broad subject, okay. But until you are really fluent in sight reading difficult pieces of music, then you really need to master each fragment at a time, separate voices, okay, 2 voices, 3, 4 voices, and then make the fragment longer until you can play the piece from the beginning until the end without stopping. And then you can play a few more days without stopping, okay, to sort of reinforce the learning process. And after 3 or 4 days usually, which that happens usually, you need like 3 or 4 days to reinforce what you learned, okay. So I can imagine, I would guess that after 3 or 4 days you will be sort of in a position that you can really play this piece without stopping from the beginning until the end at a comfortable tempo without mistakes. So that's how you take this wonderful piece of music, prelude, and fugue in F major to the next level, into the level of perfection, into the level of real fluency.